Our first nominee, or the first division that we're talking about today, is Ben Bird in the ranching division, which is the pre-1940 ranching division. Ben Bird was born in Texas in December of 1864. He made his first trail drive north to Montana in 1884, and in 1886 he hired on for 3 separate cattle herd drives headed north from Texas. He piloted that first herd because he'd been up the trail twice before, in 1884 and 1885. In 1887, Bird brought cattle for the Long X outfit to the mouth of the Little Missouri near today's Williston. His last drive was in 1892 with the Diamond C herd in the Killdeer Mountains of North Dakota, which is where he decided to plant his roots. He helped others too to find land, supplying them with horses and livestock, and in general aided in setting up the country for living. Later, he helped start the town of Almont, eventually establishing his own ranch in Medora. Quiet and direct, Ben Bird was a great storyteller, making history come alive for his friends. For years, he was a confidant of Theodore Roosevelt and remained a friend with the family after Roosevelt's death. Bird was often referred to as the Dean of Cowboys and was nominated for membership in the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. He was a life member of the Range Riders Association of Montana, the Cody International Cowboys Association of Wyoming, and the Old Trail Drivers of Texas. In his later years, Bird followed the racetrack circuit, working at his son's stable, which contained some of the horses as well. All his life, he could boast of a fine horse under him. In 1959, when Bird's horses were racing at Turf Paradise in Phoenix, Arizona, a featured race was called the Ben Bird Special. The beloved horseman and cowman, who often said he wouldn't have traded his experience for anything else this world has to offer, he died here in Medora in 1962 at the age of 97, and he's buried in Almont. Today, Bev Kirkpatrick of Salmon, Idaho, is here to accept the ranching nomination for Ben Bird. Bev Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that Jim Tesher had some notes, because they told me if I brought notes, I'd be the first one that ever had. So I'm glad to see him. I'd like to have the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of Ben Bird stand up, if they would. They're right here at this table.
Oh, wow.
Our family has always been proud of our grandfather, and I don't think we've ever been prouder than we are today. This is truly an honor. My brothers and I knew our grandfather very well. He was in the same household as we were, the first 20 years of our lives, and then he lived there for quite a few more years after we all left home. So we know him, but we know him in his older days. We didn't know him when he was young. That is mostly for the Almont people. And there are a couple Almont people here today that have come to celebrate Grandpa. Jake Larson and Dick Bond, if you'd stand up. Our family has always appreciated the Almont people because they've... Thank you. I think he's kind of a legend there. Grandpa went to work for Charles Goodnight when he was only 16 years old. And he was one of the greatest cattle barons in Texas. And he had also drove cattle, and he liked to race horses. And I think that's where my granddad got the bug for horse racing, because that was one of his loves of life. It's not surprising to me that Grandpa drove up that first herd of cattle from Texas into Montana. Probably what is surprising is that he went back and came up again and again, and again. And on the second trail ride, he didn't bring cattle. He brought about 2,500 head of horses. And they come up into the Ekalakabacre territory. And Grandpa had a brother with him on that trip, and he was shot and killed by what Grandpa called desperados. He was only 16 years old. And then on his 5th trip is when he decided to stay in Kildare. He went to work for a riverside ranch north of Mandan. Some of you might know where it was. And he worked there for quite a few years. He married my grandmother there, and he became an undercover agent for the Stock Protection Agency there. After he married my grandmother, her health wasn't good, and they moved to Yosemite Park in California, and he drove stagecoach for several years. And they had several children out there. They stayed out there for a while, and then they moved back and settled around Almont. That's where my grandmother's family was. And in 1928, my dad moved to Medora, and Grandpa followed him. And they lived there until he died at 97. I estimate that Grandpa probably rode somewhere in the vicinity of 10,000 miles in his lifetime. And that's what probably made him such a great horseman. There wasn't anything he couldn't do on or with a horse. When he was 77 years old, he won a gold trophy cup for steer roping at the Miles City Range Riders Rodeo. And he was 77. And then he made his last ride when he was about 90. He loved to ride, and my dad really didn't want him to, but he could get a bucket, put it on the ground, climb on the horse. He still had the strength. And this day he got on and went across the flats over here on the south side of the tracks in Medora. And the horse got into some barbed wire and flipped over on Grandpa's leg. And Grandpa knew that his foot was still in the stirrup. So he reached up. He still had the presence of mind and the strength to reach up, grab the bridle, hold that horse's head down until somebody came by. And he said it was probably an hour. It might have just seemed like an hour, but a guy come by and helped him get up, and Grandpa was no worse for the wear. He had a lot of bruises, but no broken bones. A lot of you know Betty Cornell. Betty has had a story she wanted me to tell you. It was what she remembers about Grandpa. One day, well, Grandpa liked to read. I got to tell you that first. Grandpa was an avid reader right up until practically his death. He could see well enough to read, and he liked to read. And Betty came to visit one day and looked in the window, and here was my granddad, I'd say he was 95 years old. He's reading the Ranch Romance magazine. I'd almost forgotten about that. But he always had an active mind, I don't know. But on behalf of my family, I'd like to tell you that we appreciate all the work that all of you have done to honor our grandfather, and to help and to thank all of you who have helped to make the cowboy such a big part of our Western heritage. Thank you very much. Thank you.